and welcome to another episode and a brand new season of Worlds Collide. I'm Justin.
And I'm Mitch.
And today we're presenting you with...
Lex Luther.
Alexander Lex Luther. Big nemesis to...
Superman.
Oh, so this is a good one.
Yes, it is. Probably the most iconic supervillain. Well, I don't know, but villain.
Yeah, because he's just a mere mortal.
Yeah.
But he meddles in a hell of a lot of shit.
Yes.
And
He ranks in the super villain category.
yeah, which is quite the feat for someone, like I said, who's been president.
Yep.
Mad scientist.
Yep.
He's been a few other things too. Killer robot, hybrid machine.
He's been Superman.
He's been Superman. This man has had many hats to say.
Yes.
So why don't you start us off with Lex Luthor's origin? What was the first time we ever saw him in DC Comics?
That's right. So it was in Detective Comics issue number 23 in 1940. So this is in the early ages of Superman, and back then he was just a mad scientist.
Okay, so that was kind of how they introed him into the comics.
Yes.
Nothing crazy, no superpowers.
No, just a mad scientist with a full head of red hair, with designs to rule the world. So his first appearance, he was trying to orchestrate two European nations to go to war, and his plan was that the ensuing conflict would result in him being the ruler of the world somehow.
So he often has a lot of leaps and bounds in his theory crafting.
That's right.
Well, he tries.
Yeah. So funny thing is, when I was doing my research today, I found out something really, really funny about this old classic Lex Luthor.
Okay, what was that? What did you find out today?
Is that... where is it?
I know we were doing some last minute fact checks and just, revamping the old memory log. It's been 2 weeks on hiatus.
Yeah.
So it's good to be back. Thanks for our viewers for staying with us there. Well, what was the funny fact?
Is how he ends up being drawn with being bald.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was actually... right there. So... a full year...
New subscriber, thank you.
Oh,
KG.
thank you. Awesome. Welcome to the channel. But yeah, so the funny fact was that a year after his first appearance in 1940, so in Action Comics number 23 was his first appearance, almost a full year later, they drew him bald, and it was actually an accident. Yeah, so the artist who was drawing didn't quite know who Lex Luthor was, thought he was another one of Superman's villains, and drew him bald, and it kind of stuck.
You know what? We like this better.
Yeah.
So I always kind of wondered, because throughout the ages, there's Smallville's rendition.
Yeah. There's,
I'm at the point in Supergirl where Lex hasn't come on the scene yet.
Okay.
I know he does.
Yes, he does.
In different shows and movies,
So
typically he's always bald, but
Yes.
it shows some kickback usually to him as a child with red hair.
Yes.
Now how he lost it changes from story to story. I found
that is true as well. So that leads us to his second origin. So, well, before we get to that, so this first incarnation of Lex Luthor gets foiled by Superman repeatedly in a few issues, but then I think around 1945, 1946, he kind of disappears. He's no longer written in Superman stories, and doesn't come back until 1957.
He's gone for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Superman has a plethora of, villains to fight.
Yeah.
They don't need to always throw just Lex at him.
That's just it. And Lex wasn't a fleshed out villain, the fleshed out villain that we all know now.
No, it's probably taken many, many years to get him to the classification of villain that we would consider him to be.
Well, as a matter of fact, he didn't get his actual origin until Superboy. His first origin was his origin was finally given in Action Comics number 271 in 1960. So 20 years later, he was finally given an origin.
Well, they do that with a lot of villains and B-list characters, right? They're like, okay, here's this awesome idea, let's roll with it for as long as it can. As long as people won't ask too many questions, we'll fill in the blanks later.
Yeah.
I like, it's good, but it's kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Sometimes. It's good for the writer's point of view to always leave a back door open.
Yeah.
But as the reader, as the viewer, you're like, things don't make sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like I'm missing a key piece of information.
Yeah. Well, the character. I mean,
and then you're waiting for the next issue and the next issue and the next issue, and you're like, when are they going to tell me about this? And then finally, 20 years later,
yeah.
That's how.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
So they actually did a flashback issue in Superboy. So in early 1960s, there was a comic series called Superboy, which was depicting Clark Kent, but as a teenager in Smallville.
Hence Smallville.
That's right. So in Superboy, it shows how Superman ends up getting caught by a kryptonite rock, and it was killing him. And Lex sees Superboy getting affected by this kryptonite, gets a bulldozer and gets rid of the kryptonite, saving Superboy. And then Superboy thanks Lex Luthor for saving his life, and Lex goes all fanboy on him because it turns out that he's a super fan of Superboy. He brings Superboy back to his place. He's got this shrine of all these different trophies and pictures and one of Superboy. As a means to thanking Lex Luthor for saving him, Superboy ends up helping build Lex Luthor his lab that he's always ever wanted. And then Lex, in this lab, ends up creating this AI robot. And as a means for him to thank Superboy, he decides he's going to create an antidote, an antitoxin to kryptonite, making Superboy no longer vulnerable to kryptonite.
That's pretty wicked.
So one day there was a fire that happens inside this lab, and Superboy shows up and uses his super breath to put out the fire. Well, in the process of doing that, his super breath ends up knocking some acids into some various chemicals that ends up exploding in the lab, destroying the AI that Lex had created.
That pissed him off.
And also caused him to go bald.
So that's where they said the Lex origin came from.
Yeah.
Superman caused it.
Yeah.
In a whoops.
Yeah. So Lex...
He didn't know Lex was in the lab.
No, he knew Lex was in the lab. He was there to save Lex from the fire.
Should have used my super speed, not my super breath.
Yeah. So Lex blamed Superboy, said that he did it out of jealousy. He did it on purpose. He wanted to destroy Lex's creations, and from there on out, he was hell bent on proving that he was better than Superboy. And every time he tries to do something, Superboy always thwarted his plans, just fueling more fire, putting more fuel in the fire.
Just there to stop him. In his eyes, one-upping him, but really
that's exactly what it is.
He
keeps on seeing Superboy intervening as Superman trying to Superboy one-upping Lex, when in fact he's not.
No, Lex is he's such an egotistical bastard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it shows that he had good means, good origins.
Yeah.
Later, he has some good redemptions, but through and through, he's a villain. Yeah.
Speaking of, one of those redemptions is before his second reimagining, or his first reimagining, I suppose. He somehow, I don't know exactly how he found out about this planet. Oh, I know how he found out about this planet. He challenged, on a radio show, he challenged Superman to a fight. But it had to be on a planet with a red sun, because that way Superman won't have any power. So it'd be a fair fight between the two. So they found this planet with a red sun. They went to this planet to duke it out.
No way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Superman won that fight.
I hope so.
But the end result of that is that they found out that this planet was inhabited, and were an ancient civilization. They had advanced technology and everything, but it all went to shit. And Lex ends up staying on this planet and used his intelligence and his resources to rebuild this planet, to bring it back to its glory days. And all the inhabitants started to revere Lex Luthor as a hero.
Oh,
and
no.
they all hated Superman as a villain.
No.
And the planet ended up getting called Lexor.
I always wondered what Lexor was. Like, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Right? I've heard mention of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what's Lexor?
Yeah. So on Lexor, he ends up meeting a woman there, one indigenous woman, marrying her, and they end up having a son together. And he ends up using Lexor as kind of like an escape from Earth. He'd still go to Earth and do his shenanigans and whatnot, but then he would always escape back to Lexor kind of thing.
Fucking off to another planet. How would he travel between the two?
I don't know.
Some kind of spaceship, I would imagine.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Or teleportation device.
Or... Some device.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a ship.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it to that. All right, comics.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened with Lexor is one of Lex's doom machines ends up creating some kind of havoc or like killing people or whatnot. So to pay for his crime, Superman went back to Lexor to bring Lex Luthor back to Earth for justice.
Stand trial, take his his penalty, I guess, his punishment.
Yeah, but Luthor knew that Superman was going to be coming, so he was prepared. I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. While Lex was living on Lexor, he found out that Lexor had the same tectonic plate issues that Krypton used to have that caused the destruction of Krypton. So Lexor is going to have the same fate as Krypton.
Just a matter of time.
Exactly. So Lex ends up developing this machine that's supposed to fix the issue. It's supposed to save Lexor from that fate.
Stabilize their tectonic plates from shifting.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention that before we move forward. So now Superman's on his way to Lexor to confront Lex Luthor, and when he gets there, he's met by Lex Luthor in his power suit. He developed his power suit based on the technology from Lexor. So this was the first appearance of his power suit.
Oh, wicked. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is all in his what? In his second reimagining or his second storyline of his own?
Well, this is still the mad scientist Lex Luthor.
And is this in Superman comics or is this in Lex Luthor's own line? Does he get his own line of comics or?
Not that I've read.
Okay, so this is all just kind of in the Superman line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Superman shows up and him and Lex ends up fighting. And one of Lex's weapons ends up going off and destroying the device that he created to save Lexor, and ends up destroying the planet, killing his wife and son in the process. Of course, he blames Superman for this because if Superman had never come to that planet, none of this would have happened.
But then, follow that same bouncing ball. If you had never done what you had done, Superman would never done what he had done.
Exactly.
Right? So Lex is really bad at owning the blame.
Yes.
Really, he's always been really bad at that.
At passing the bucket?
Yes. Yeah, wasn't me.
No.
I had to do it because...
No, Lex is perfect. It's never Lex's fault.
Never Lex's fault.
No.
He gets that probably from Lionel.
Yeah. Yeah. Lionel, I don't think, was introduced until much later, but before Smallville.
That's what I thought. I didn't think he was a Smallville original.
No. But, man, the actor for Lionel in the Smallville show was...
phenomenal.
Knocked it out of the park. Like, he was my favorite villain. Like, Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor was phenomenal in Smallville, but...
A great Lex.
His dad as Lionel was my favorite villain of that show.
He was ruthless.
Yeah.
Downright ruthless. For how, CW Smallville was...
Yeah.
He got away with some shit.
Yeah, you could see how Lex became Lex Luthor by how Lionel treated him.
Yeah, from his beratement and his harassment and neglect and belittling and more and more and more.
Especially the belittling.
Well, you're not as good as this, and no, you're always going to be shit,
Yeah, you're never going to amount to anything.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lex definitely grew up with a little chip on his shoulder thanks to Lionel, I'd say.
That's right.
But they didn't bring him into Lex's background, his storyline.
Until, like, in the 2000s.
Okay, so I like that. That's a cool add-on for a character we've had 60-plus years of, and it's like, guess what? We've never met his dad.
Yeah. Well, no, we met his dad, just different versions. So that brings us to his first reimagining, where he got reimagined as a business tycoon and more in line with the
Justice League Unlimited.
Well, more in line with the Lex Luthor we all know now. So it's more like the modern age.
He's running this corporation.
That's right. So when this Lex first got introduced, that was in it was just called, a limited series called Man of Steel.
Oh, okay.
And it was after the Crisis on
Doomsday?
Infinite Earth.
Was it in the Doomsday Crisis? Is that the Man of Steel?
Doomsday Crisis?
Well, it's not Doomsday Crisis. It's the Man of Steel event when Doomsday and Superman fight.
No. Well, the Man of Steel who becomes Steel is one of the people who becomes Superman after Doomsday kills Superman. But no, it had nothing. This
different storyline. Okay.
Yeah. The death of Superman happened in 1992 or 4.
We touched base on it at some point before, I know.
Yeah, but no, this is a limited series that happened in 1986, shortly after the Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Okay.
So when Crisis on Infinite Earth happened, which rebooted the entire DC universe, there was a limited series called Man of Steel. In there, Lex Luthor gets reintroduced as a whole new character, like reimagined completely.
Well, of course, because the whole timeline got reset, so he essentially would become a new person.
Yeah. So the writers at the time didn't feel like Lex Luthor being a mad scientist was a relatable enough villain for the people of today's readers.
Well, Lex has always been written into comics as society's greatest
fear.
So
that's right. So in the 1940s, it was during World Wars, and people were afraid of like these mad scientists developing the atomic bomb and stuff like that, right?
The atom bomb, the nuclear bomb, etc.
Yeah. And then in the 80s, people were more fearful of. Fearful of.
Go check on the one up there. Just a delay on the one screen here from a viewer. Said we got a freeze out, so hopefully it's going fine now. I know it's a little cold out.
Yeah. But yeah, so in the 1980s, people were more fearful towards corporations.
Global warming.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yes.
The epidemics based on, poverty.
Yes.
And,
capitalism. And yeah.
So that's now what Lex is.
Exactly. So the artists based Lex's new appearance on, this is really funny, on Donald Trump and Ted Turner.
So that's why we got the business suit.
Yeah.
And the shiesty kind of demeanor, where he's kind of always sneering at people.
Yeah. And originally he was drawn a little bit heavier, but as the comics progress, he got leaner. Yeah.
I noticed that. They put him as a heftier dude. Like, he's not Kingpin.
No.
But he wasn't the beanpole he used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, so they eventually trimmed him down back to being a thin Lex Luthor. And his baldness had no origin. They just slowly his hair started to recede until he became bald. So it was just natural baldness.
Okay, no secret explosion in the lab where, he got caught in the nuclear storm.
No.
Because I think that was the Smallville origin where he lost his hair.
Yes.
He was outside playing in the cornfield or something when the meteor shower happened.
Yes.
Over Smallville. And so it hit all around the field. Obviously, he survived, was found in the cornfields, bald.
Yes. And
good old Smallville.
Yeah.
10 seasons of, hey, look, a CGI suit.
Yeah.
And it will be good to see Tom Welling on screen in the Infinite Crisis. So I'm not there yet. We'll be covering that in a couple weeks, I believe, here. Let everyone get caught up. So, warning, there will be some future spoilers. If you have not seen the CW Arrowverse Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earth, please get caught up over the next few weeks. We will be touching base on that.
But speaking of which, you haven't seen him yet. Let me tell you, Tom Welling, he's pretty beefy. Like, not fat. Like, he's jacked. He's still jacked.
I imagine he would be. Is he the biggest of the three?
What's that? Oh, most muscular for sure.
Oh, I knew that. That's okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen him a little bit on screen, but there's still 2 more episodes to come, 3 more episodes to come that they haven't premiered yet. Of the Crisis event, or is it all out there now?
No. There's they've done the first 3 parts, and there's 2 more parts to air.
I'm waiting for them all.
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
So Lex, do we see Lex in the Infinite Crisis?
Yes.
Wicked.
Yes.
Yeah, because he came into the end of season 4, Supergirl, I think, maybe start of 5, and I'm excited for what I get to see.
He's excellent.
Yeah, good actor they've got for this guy.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to hear.
He plays Lex Luthor like he's an egomaniac. Like he's got quite the ego.
Okay. All right. We'll have to wait and see then.
Yeah, he does it really well.
Good.
So this is the Lex Luthor that we pretty much now know.
The business tycoon.
Yes. So he ends up getting a hatred of Superman because, so I think they were on some kind of yacht. It was one of Lex's yachts.
Okay.
And ended up getting attacked by a bunch of terrorists, and Superman ends up saving the day. After that, Lex Luthor offered a shit ton of money to Superman to be his personal bodyguard.
He turned him down.
And he turned him down. And because of that, because Superman is the only person in Metropolis that
he can't
buy or influence, Superman had to go. That was...
I can't control him. He's got to go. That's
right. So, how they depicted this Lex Luthor in comics is... this is where his parents did come into play. So, his parents were actually very abusive. He came from a family, from a very poor family. And his parents were very abusive and berating him and belittling him. And even though he had like a genius intellect, they always treated him like he was an idiot and he was stupid. And then one day they got into a car accident and died. Now, this accident was actually Lex Luthor who ended up cutting out the brakes of the car, and then they ended up getting into an accident and dying.
He wasn't in the car at the time.
No, he wasn't. And then he ended up getting the inheritance of their death and used that to create LexCorp.
That is hilarious because they use that storyline in Smallville as Lionel doing that to his parents.
Yes.
But it's not a car. I think it's a fire in the apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny how they twist the storyline from it being Lex to Lionel. And, I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's how they bring in the parents.
Yes.
And that's how they exit the parents.
Yes.
Yeah, parents in, parents out.
Yeah.
Here's some money.
Yeah. So he used that money to get himself into MIT and also to create LexCorp.
He paid his way.
Yes. Paid his way to all the knowledge he has, all the riches he has in the businesses and whatnot. With this money that he ends up making through LexCorp, he ends up buying all the media in Metropolis, all but one newspaper, the Daily Planet.
Of course. So they wouldn't sell.
It's the only one that wanted to remain free, so that they could freely report the news objectively.
Unbiased.
That's right.
Uncorrupted.
Subjectively? Objectively? I always get those two confused.
One of the two.
Yeah. But anyways.
If you know, let us know.
Yes, please correct me. But Lex bought all those other medias to buff his own reputation.
Pump his own wheels.
That's right. That's right.
Lex is so good. Oh, look, the paper said so.
That's right.
But you told them what to write.
That's right. That's another reason why he hates Superman is because he geared all of Metropolis to worship him. He is supposed to be the man of tomorrow.
The Man of Steel, the
Superman.
Savior.
Exactly.
He's supposed to be Superman.
Exactly. But then Superman shows up, this alien that's not even from their planet, saving everybody's lives, being this amazing person.
Yeah. And just can't have it.
No.
I'm fucking jealous.
Yeah.
Well, now when do they intro his sister?
Lena has always been around. In the 1960s, Lena was actually an empath, and something about his family disowning Lex, and they changed their name. I didn't write down the name that they changed to, but they changed their name. They're no longer known as Luthers.
Oh.
So Lena was actually wasn't known as Lena Luther. She was Lena something. I forgot. I didn't write down the last name. And something happened to make it so that she couldn't remember that she had a brother named Lex. Superman and Supergirl even lied to Lena to perpetuate her not knowing that that Lex Luthor was her brother.
Because she walks a better path than him.
That's right, yeah.
And they didn't want her to be tarnished, essentially. Thinking, oh, I'm bad too. Because she kind of has a moral dilemma, it seems like, in the Supergirl show.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm good, but I'm bad. I'm good and bad. I don't know what to do because mom's a bitch.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I was a big fan of Lena Luthor in Supergirl, but recently she started to wear on my nerves. I don't like her as much as I did before.
I liked her for the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
They're at 4. I haven't seen as much of her.
So the name they changed it to was Thorol, which is actually an anagram of Luther, so it's Thorul, so Thorol.
Yeah.
Which is
Luther spelled backwards.
Well,
almost.
Luther jumbled.
Yeah.
You're still a Luther.
Yeah.
Kind of, if we mix it around.
Yeah. So she ends up finding out that Lex was her brother, but this caused some kind of trauma in her because she's has this empathic ability. And then somehow Lex ends up freeing her of these bad memories, and then she no longer remembers that he's her brother. Something like that.
She's kind of just like a nobody character.
Almost, yeah.
She doesn't play any significant role.
She never
She's
really
just kind of hey, care more about me. Look, I have a family. I killed my parents, but look, they're still my sister.
That's right.
She's kind of a cop-out character.
That's right.
Oh, look, a distraction.
Yeah.
Here's my sister.
Yeah. Lena has not been an important character until she got introduced in the CW Supergirl show.
I think that's only because they might not have had rights to Lex.
At the time, possibly.
For the first few seasons?
I think it was more because it's Supergirl. They wanted a female Luthor to be her counterpart.
That makes a lot of sense because even in the first few times where they showed Superman, they didn't show his face, did they?
No, they didn't. They didn't have an actor.
They didn't have an actor yet.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of Supergirl was kind of just let's go with it. Let's just go with it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But like you said, they didn't have Superman playing his opposite. Why have Lex?
Yeah.
Throw the sister in.
Yeah. So
smart.
One thing that I detest, I don't know if I mentioned on the show before, but I really, really hated Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor and Batman v Superman.
We're going to talk about that, are we?
Well, I'm going to talk about that because it actually ties into to this Lex Luthor we're talking about.
In Supergirl?
Not Supergirl.
Oh, and
ties into
Business Tycoon?
That's right. So this business tycoon ends up getting himself this kryptonite ring, and he wears it with him at all times as a representation that even Lex Luthor is untouchable by Superman. So, and once again, it's a moment of pride. But he ends up contracting cancer from being exposed to kryptonite for so much kryptonite. And
steady stream just sucking his soul.
That's right.
Day in, day out.
So kryptonite isn't supposed to be lethal to human beings, but since Lex spent so much time around kryptonite and having a kryptonite ring at all times, it ends up giving him cancer and ended up becoming terminal. So what he ends up doing is he ends up faking his own death in a plane crash, just so that he could extract his own brain and get it implanted into a young clone that he created of himself. So the reason why I mentioned Jesse Eisenberg is because this young clone, exactly, because when this young clone shows back with Metropolis, he introduced himself as Lex Luthor's illegitimate son from Australia, Lex Luthor II. And he even has like a fake Australian accent to go with the fake background.
Oh my god! So that's who you think Jesse Eisenberg?
Well, because they're saying that he's not Lex Luthor. That's the argument people will tell me, that Jesse Eisenberg's character in Batman v Superman is not Lex Luthor. It's Lex Luthor Jr. He mentions that he's Lex Luthor Jr.
He mentions it.
Yeah. He's a son of Lex Luthor, so that's why it makes me mention this.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's an argument a lot of people give me. I'm like, I don't care. He's a stand-in for Lex Luthor, and it's a terrible Lex Luthor.
Correct. Correct. Because the age just doesn't make sense at all.
No.
He's way too young.
Yeah.
Lex is supposed to be older than Superman.
Yes, but that age doesn't bother me as much as the fucking personality is all wrong. Like, he was 2 shades away from, like, Riddler / Joker.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's the only reason why I did mention it. It's just, there is credence to this Luthor Jr. Actually, there is another credence to Luthor Jr. So, we're going to jump ahead now.
Take it away.
So, in Infinite Crisis, or Final Crisis, in Final Crisis, this is where they, it was like a big event where they were bringing back, so in Crisis on Infinite Earths, they end up destroying all the other
parallel
Earths.
universes.
That's right.
It comes down to just being Earth 2? 6?
Earth 1 or Earth 2? I don't know. But
one Earth is left.
Yeah, exactly. But in Final Crisis, they bring all these multiverses back. So
with populations intact.
Yeah.
With original, it can't be. It's got to be all new timelines.
Well, it's gonna be all new timelines, all new stories and whatnot.
But they're back in existence.
Yes, they exist.
That's wicked.
Yeah, well, they've existed for some time. Final Crisis made everybody aware that they exist.
Because in Infinite Crisis, we revert back to just having our universe that we know of.
That's right.
Okay.
So
with a mesh of other people.
That's right. People from other universes have now joined this universe.
Right.
People like Black Canary.
Yeah, people who have kind of been in our comic storyline since the Golden Age.
Yeah, Jay Garrick and...
Because Golden Age is essentially Earth 1.
Yeah.
Silver Age is essentially Earth 2.
Yeah.
And so I think in the Infinite Crisis, everything reverts back to Earth 2.
Yeah.
All of our Golden Age heroes, they come into this universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, one of those...
I know it's confusing.
Yeah. So, during this event, another Luthor gets introduced. His name is Alexander Luthor Jr. And he is from Earth 3. And he is the son of Earth 3's Lex Luthor.
Okay.
And in here, he is much younger. He's got a full head of hair, and it's red. And he ends up being like the major villain of the entire story arc. Him and Superboy Prime, who's from Earth Prime. I'm not going to get into Superboy.
We'll get into
Prime.
that another day.
Superboy Prime is going to be an episode on its own.
Perfect. Maybe we should do that next week.
But Superboy Prime and Lex Luthor Jr. ends up working together, and they end up being like the major bads of Final Crisis.
Okay.
So there's that second iteration of a Lex Luthor Jr. that kind of lends credence to Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Batman vs Superman.
But once again, the attitude is all fucking wrong. So it doesn't matter what name he goes under. His personality was terrible.
They can only change so many details in regards to a character. Like,
yes.
For example, with Jared Leto's Joker. It's not that it was Jared Leto. It's that you made him look like that and then had Jared Leto perform.
That's right.
If you made him look normal and let Jared Leto perform,
it would have been fine.
It would have been fine. But you made him look stupid and then made us hate his appearance so much that we didn't even really pay attention to Jared Leto's performance.
That's just it. Like, with Jared Leto performing as the Joker, they just took the angst and amped it up to 12.
It was just crazy on steroids on crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, why?
Yeah.
Like I remember one point in the club when the one dude comes and he's sitting in his like chair in the club and it looks like he's already on like a mushroom trip. Like the whole scene was just like chaotic.
Yeah.
It's like, make me pay attention more.
Yes.
To the performance.
Yes.
Like Jesse was kind of like, his version of Lex was off-putting to the point where this guy, shut up. You just wanted him to shut up.
Yeah. He was an annoying little gnat is what he was.
Chatterbox, yeah.
He wasn't intimidating. He wasn't frightening. He didn't exude the confidence that Lex Luther should be exuding.
Lex is a overly confident dude.
Awfully prideful.
He always thinks he's the smartest one in the room, regardless of who else is there. You know what I mean?
That's probably because he is.
Usually, yeah.
No, not usually. Like
he is that smart, I guess.
Yeah. They've gone on record. One of the writers, I think it was, I forgot which writer, but one of the writers went on record saying that Lex Luthor is the smartest human being on Earth. He's like a ninth level intelligence.
Wow.
He's smarter than Batman. He's smarter than Mr. Terrific.
I was gonna say, not fantastic.
No, he's smarter than Mr. Terrific. He's smarter than Batman.
It must be smart with that silver lining of like gullibility, foolishness.
Yes,
because he's overconfidently foolish.
Yes, well, it's the same problem that Dr. Doom has. Dr. Doom is supremely powerful, supremely intelligent, supremely resourceful. If he wasn't so egotistical and prideful, he would be unstoppable.
They just don't know when enough's enough. They don't know limits.
Yeah.
Because to them, they're limitless.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all powerful. Nothing can stop me.
Yeah.
Until it does.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the scenario that they both run into on a constant basis.
The overreach.
Like, they already got it. They've already won. And there's been scenarios, I think, against their heroes.
Yeah.
Right? Against, say, Superman, where he has won, and he just needs to stop right now.
Yeah.
But he keeps going that extra mile.
Yeah.
And that's what does him in.
Yeah.
Fucking Lex.
Yeah. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, how Lex is always transforming to be more relevant to what the American people are most currently afraid of. In the 2000s, Lex Luthor becomes president.
Bush.
Yes. Yes. And then later on, Trump, but he was only president until 2003. From 2000 to 2003, he was president.
Yeah, and basically it was to prey on the fear of an incompetent leader.
Yes, because what happened was there was, I actually written it in my notable stories. It's called No Man's Land. It's a Batman story where there's some earthquakes that ends up happening, destroying Gotham. And a lot of the blame went on the current president at the time. And Lex Luthor ends up using his resources and whatnot to rebuild Gotham after these earthquakes. Building his own reputation and his own public appeal and whatnot.
The election, essentially. That's
pretty
his
much
campaign management. I'm going to rebuild the city and
pretty
they'll vote for me.
And then eventually Batman finds out that Lex Luthor was actually behind the earthquakes that destroyed Gotham to begin with.
Way to rig a campaign, bro. What did you expect?
What did you expect?
Come on.
It's Lex Luthor.
Of course he created the earthquake and then went to rebuild it. Oh, hey, sorry, neighbor. Looks like you have some trouble, as he's the one burning your house down.
Yeah. And so, to his credit, when he first became president, he was a good president. He did get shit done.
In terms of, like, shutting down terrorist groups.
Yeah,
and
providing improving
stability.
financial stability and whatnot. Yeah.
He did the basic, I will do this, and he followed through a little bit.
Yep. Until the true Lex Luthor started coming and rearing its ugly head again. Like, there was this alien that was coming to Earth to use Earth as the starting point for the destruction of the universe. His name is...
Invader Zim.
I wish. That'd be a fantastic crossover. Imperix was his name.
Imperix? That's not Imperilax.
No.
That
That's Parallax. That's
Parallax. Okay, sorry.
No, Imperix is just this alien. I think he's like a really powerful alien that was coming to Earth to use Earth as like the ground zero for the destruction of the universe.
All right. And what did Lex do about this?
Lex knew he was coming and didn't tell a soul because he wanted to be the one to save Earth from this impending doom.
When it was too late.
Yeah, so, well, Lex could have warned, like, you could have told the Justice League, could have told all the superheroes and the authorities, could have warned people.
Yep. Then they were taking his thunder. They
Yep.
was stole all his glory.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
So, in the end, Superman does end up beating this Imperix, but not before Imperix destroying a couple of cities, totaling, like, thousands of people dying. And yeah, and it's all because Lex didn't warn the public ahead of time. Didn't tell anybody ahead of time.
That fight could have happened in space. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
Well, that's... What do you expect?
Yeah, but that wasn't his downfall to his presidency.
What was?
What was happened during Superman, Batman, The World's Finest.
The world... Oh, I don't know that one.
I actually have a free comic books day copy of it, so it's not the full story, just the first part of it. But they did an animated movie of it, but it was called Superman, Batman, Public Enemies.
Oh, I have seen that one.
Yes. So in Public Enemies, we see Lex Luthor becoming president and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So in here, in the aftermath of this story, what got Lex Luthor taken out as was outvoted, was he lost his presidency, was when he was facing Batman and Superman, confessed that he traded Doomsday's body to Darkseid for Apocalypse weapons to help him in some other war. And Batman recorded the entire thing live, so the entire public, the entire United States heard Lex Luthor say that he traded off Doomsday's body to Darkseid to get Apocalypse weapons.
That's real bad.
Yeah.
Because, like, giving him Doomsday means what? He's going to bring him back to life, send him back to Earth?
Well, Doomsday always comes back to life. As a matter of fact, Doomsday, I'm pretty sure, ends up fighting Darkseid and beating Darkseid.
So Lex did good. This is the one time Lex did good. My vote. He's got my vote. Now. Okay, but him or Trump? That's the real question. Who would you really vote for? If it was those two. There's no Bernie. Lex or Trump?
At least Lex could follow things through.
I don't know. President, well, we'll just not get there.
No. W no versus W don't.
Yeah, they're both bad picks.
Yeah.
They're both bad picks.
Yeah.
But once Lex obviously got exposed for his shenanigans, they just kind of pulled his title.
Yeah.
And give it to Superman?
No. But Lex ends up going back to prison, returning to being the supervillain Lex Luthor and blah blah blah.
Imagine what would Superman do if it was president for a day? Be bored as shit sitting in an office probably.
I don't know if he'd want the title.
No, like say he had to be president.
Yeah,
for a
he had
day.
to be president for a day.
And they're just making him go from meeting to meeting and listening to bullshit. And you know, I give him 6 meetings and he just flies out of there and goes to all these places on his own.
Maybe.
Like, that's it, I'm just gonna go solve it. Fuck all these meetings.
Maybe, but he is also a reporter, right? By day, so he's not always Superman, so
It's true. It's true. Good theory craft.
yeah.
The president's supposed to give a speech and Clark Kent's just in the audience taking notes.
Every 3 seconds he switches back to Superman, switches back to Clark.
Does it so fast that you can't even see it. He's actually Superman and Clark Kent.
He's on stage and taking notes at the same
He's
time.
just moving so
Exclusive
fast.
insights from
Asking the
president.
question and answering it.
That'd be so hard to do. Because he'd have to say every word syllable by syllable, because for him to be able to exist at both places at the same time, he'd have to be moving at this faster than the eye can see,
And they wouldn't be able to hear.
and fast enough to be leaving like an after image.
Yeah,
Like
a
Dragon Ball
burned
style.
blur image in the on Dragon Ball style.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of Lex talk. What do we have to finish with?
All right, so I just want to talk about a few notable stories here. So, a notable story that they mentioned No Man's Land, that Batman story with the earthquake that led to Lex Luthor becoming president.
And then Imperax?
No, Imperax is Our Worlds at War.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to read the story of Imperax invading Earth and the first step to the downfall of President Luthor, that's Our Worlds at War.
Okay.
Then you have Superman, Batman, the World's Finest, which is the actual downfall of President Luthor.
And during that time, if I'm not mistaken, he has employed basically the the Dark League.
Well, he's employed a lot of people. Like he ends up forming a team of that consisted of Captain Atom, Power Girl, Green Lantern, and a few other superheroes to try and take down Batman and Superman because Lex Luthor had orchestrated things to make Batman and Superman being like number one, like America's most wanted.
Public enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he literally rounded up some of the Justice League to go bring them in.
Yeah.
What's the other the Society? You know what I'm talking about?
Lex Luthor himself has formed different supervillain teams. He like the Injustice Society, the Injustice League, the not Doom Patrol, the Doom something.
Yeah, I remember
League of Doom. I think
I remember during his presidency.
Legion of Doom.
Was that who he had employed from during?
No, that was one of the teams he had created. He called them the Legion of Doom.
That's a shitty name.
Well, the Legion of Doom is the name of a wrestling tag team.
Rip off. So, what are some important events, some important comics?
So those are pretty important. The Infinite Crisis is another one where I talked about Lex Luthor Jr. Other than that, Lex Luthor is featured in so many stories, just like you can't really name. But these are the four that struck to me that are most relevant to the current state of Lex Luthor.
How about Brainiac?
Well, they've teamed up quite a few times.
That's what I thought. He even gave his body to Brainiac, essentially, for them to become one, has he not?
Yeah. But for that story, I like more the Justice League Unlimited story. So I want to talk about Lex Luthor in other medias. So we did talk about some of the movies. So Lex Luthor has been in... just to make this easy on everybody, Lex Luthor has been in every animated and live action show featuring Superman. Every one of them. Every live action show that had Superman in it, Lex Luthor's in it. Every animated cartoon that has Superman in it, Lex Luthor's in it. Any animated DC movies. Well, no, Lex Luthor wasn't in all the DC animated movies.
But just about.
Just about.
Just about.
Just about. But, so...
He's got a ton of screen time.
Yeah, so in the movies he was played by Gene Hackman, and then in the 2001 Christopher Nolan movie Superman Returns, he was played by
Kevin Spacey,
which is one of my favorite Lex Luthors.
Yeah, that was a good performance.
And then Jesse Eisenberg in Batman v Superman.
Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville.
That's right.
And then I forget the name of the newest.
John Cryer is
John Cryer in Supergirl.
You have... Apparently there was a Superboy TV show that played in the late 80s and ran into like the early 90s. And in there, he was played by Scott James for the first season, and then after that, Sherman Howard for the subsequent seasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about those ones.
Adventures of Lois and Clark, he was played by John Shea.
Yeah. I forgot. I always forget about that damn show.
Yeah. Oh, I don't, because I love that show.
It was a good one. I know. I always forget it existed, though.
Yeah. And then you have Superman, the animated series. You have Justice League Unlimited, Young Justice, and the list goes on and on. But
a lot of animated.
Yes, and a lot of them really good stories. But one of my favorite stories I mentioned in our Barry Allen episode. Did I mention it in our Barry Allen?
I think it's where he keeps running around the world.
Yeah. Whereas Superman, where Lex Luthor and Brainiac form together, and then tells the Flash that, "What are you gonna do? I just took out the entire Justice League. What are you gonna do?"
He's the last one left.
Yeah.
He starts running the other way.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I thought. And then turns out he's not running away. He's running around the Earth.
He's getting his big one punch going.
Yeah.
And he goes over.
Yeah.
And over.
Yeah.
And he keeps hitting him. 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 And every time he hits him, he's trying to knock off bits of Brainiac.
Yeah.
Because essentially Brainiac's around Lex in this like bodysuit of armor.
Yeah.
So, after a couple round the Earths, boom, he lays one good one, and just the final piece is off.
Yeah.
Lex is standing there, removed from Brainiac, and I think he just finishes it with one last punch.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna do. That's what Flash says as he finishes it, and he's standing over him. He's like, "Well, couldn't take me out,
Yeah. And then Flash, because he was moving so fast, he ends up almost merging with the Speed Force. Yeah. Which resulted in Lex Luthor almost killing the Flash, just like how he did kill the Flash in the alternate Earth. Almost. So, but another really good story of Lex Luthor in Justice League Unlimited also features the Flash. Was the episode where Lex Luthor and the Flash ends up switching bodies.
Oh.
And in that one, Lex Luthor in Flash's body goes into ends up hiding in the restroom and sees a mirror. He's like, finally, I get to see who you really look like, who you really are. Takes off the mask. I have no idea who you are.
Like Wally West. Was it Wally or Barry?
Wally. Yeah.
Wally. Yeah, Wally. To him, Wally's a fucking nobody.
Well, he is a nobody.
Literally, like, yeah.
He's nobody famous. He's not rich. Nothing.
He's put it this way. He's not Bruce Wayne.
No.
Bruce Wayne, he's given away his Batman more than anyone, I'd say. Like Clark is able to hide as Superman, which is ridiculous. But
matter of fact, Lex has found out that Clark is Superman on more than one occasion. But every story that tells of Lex Luthor finding out that Clark is Superman, Lex Luthor laughs at the idea. Superman and Clark Kent can't be the same person. Superman had with all his power, why would he ever
Clark Kent?
Why would he ever belittle himself to pretend to be a human being? And how could Superman ever be this bumbling buffoon Clark Kent?
Yeah, because Lex meets Clark multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're an idiot."
Yeah. Well, in other stories, like in the later 2000s, they revamped Lex Luthor's story and Superman's story, and they go more to the Smallville story where they grew up together in Smallville, blah blah blah. So they grew up together. Lex and Clark grew up together, kind of thing.
Yeah. So he's like, "No, you're not Superman. I know you.
Yeah.
I've known you since we were kids."
Yeah.
Stupid Lex.
Yeah. But yeah, those are two of some of my most notable stories featuring Lex Luthor. There's a lot more.
What about him killing the Flash?
Well, before that whole Brainiac thing, that was during the Justice League, not Justice League Unlimited, but during Justice League is when they introduced the Earth 2 in that one, and in Earth 2, Lex Luthor ends up killing the Flash, which made Superman kill Lex Luthor, which made Superman go dark and create the Injustice League. So in that Earth, the Justice League are all bad guys except for Batman and a few others, I think. But I mean, like Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern, they all gone evil. It was all because Lex Luthor killed the Flash. The Flash was the heart of the Justice League, and when Lex Luthor killed the Flash, they all went dark side.
Yeah, he was their morality.
Yeah.
He was the one keeping them in check. Yes, we're all powerful. We gotta keep it for the right cause.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stories out there with Lex Luthor. The moral of the story is Lex Luthor is a fantastic villain.
He's good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do with him with the DC universe going forward.
You know what's something we have not seen in the movies yet? Lex's power armor.
That's what I was about to say. I haven't seen the power suit yet.
No.
Maybe we'll see Lexor. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe we can see a lot of things.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see Brainiac.
It'd be nice to see Brainiac in a cinematic universe.
Do you think they can pull it off though without it just looking like Ultron?
Yeah.
Like without them literally just copying Marvel's Ultron.
Yeah. I mean, Brainiac 5 and Supergirl looks alright.
Yeah.
And he's got hair and whatnot, but I mean, he's got like the buttons on the face and everything. If they could do it in Supergirl,
Why did they make Brainiac good in Supergirl?
Because that's Brainiac 5.
And he is good.
Yes. Yeah, he's from the Justice Society.
The future Justice.
That's right.
Yeah.
From the 30th century.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm like, why are you Brainiac? Be a bad guy, damn it. Like,
yeah. Well, they've hinted at him being bad guy.
I feel like they will. They're gonna flip the script in a little bit. And
Yeah.
He's gonna get corrupted, like a virus or something. Will take him over. And
Yeah.
now it's old school Brainiac, even though you're fifth version.
Yeah.
There's a lot they can do. Like we said, the cinematic universe and the comic universe, they're much alike in the sense that, we do it, we
Yeah.
can.
But that's almost all I got. Oh, we never mentioned about Lex Luthor becoming the Orange
Superman?
Lantern.
The Orange Lantern or Superman.
Yeah. So Blackest Night, Brightest Day is the. Once again, we'll cover this in the in one of our various Green Lanterns episodes, but we can't do Green Lantern in one episode. That'd be impossible.
There's probably going to be about 4 different Green Lantern episodes, if not more.
Yeah. But in Blackest Day and Brightest Night, Lex Luthor ends up getting the Orange Lantern ring. And the Orange Lantern is the lantern that is based off of the emotion of greed and avarice.
Perfect for Lex.
Yeah.
Because the world is never enough.
Yeah.
He wants Lexor. He wants the moon. He wants Mars. He wants the fucking universe.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when he becomes the Orange Lantern, he wants everybody else's lantern rings. All the Green Lantern rings, all the Red Lantern rings, the yellow ones.
Don't even have enough digits or room on them.
Doesn't matter. He wants them all.
Doesn't matter.
He wants all of the power.
Just so other people don't have it.
That's right.
I know I can't use it, but I just don't want you to have it.
Yeah. And then, as he said, and as I mentioned earlier in the episode, in the New 52, Lex Luthor ends up. So in the New 52, the New 52 Superman ends up dying, and after that death, Lex Luthor ends up taking on the mantle of Superman until the pre-Flashpoint Superman ends up showing up, and pre-Flashpoint Superman's like, "There's no way that you're a good guy. You're Lex Luthor. There's something else going on here." So they end up fighting. As they're fighting, something happens, and Lex ends up helping Superman save a bunch of people, which convinces Superman, okay, maybe you are different. But I don't know what happens, but he does eventually go back to being a bad guy.
Yeah, at some point he tried, joining the Justice League,
Yeah.
walking the good and narrow, and at some point it was just, this isn't enough for me. I'm not getting the reward out of this I thought I would.
Yeah.
And I think that was the reason why Lex went back to the life of crime.
That's it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Nah, this isn't all it's built up to be. People aren't loving me the way I thought they would, and
In the end, I think that's what it would come down to, is people aren't worshiping him to the level that he feels like he should be worshipped.
right. He wanted to be on Superman's level of worship.
Yes. And that's never going to happen.
Get good, bro. Alright, so I think that wraps up today's episode of Worlds Collide. Thank you for joining us on Season 2, Episode 1, covering Lex Luthor. Had some fun being back. It was good to have our 2 weeks off. And next week, who do we got coming up?
Kenny, who do we say we got?
Next week we have Juggernaut, and then after that should be the Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Sounds good.
Juggernaut.
Yeah, should be fun.
Big Bruiser coming at you.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for next week's episode. Next Saturday, 8 p.m. is when we go live. We're going to have our Episode 1 and Episode 2 of Season 1 as reruns over the next 2 hours or so, playing now. Next week we'll have Episode 3 and 4 from Season 1 playing as reruns, following our Episode 2 of Season 2 Juggernaut episode. So just so you guys know what's going on, stay tuned, hit that follow button, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like. Thanks, I'm Justin.
And I'm Mitch.
And this is Worlds Collide. Tune in out.
Cheers.
See ya.